Hi everyone, thanks for watching this video. It's all about a living wage. So if your business is paying minimum wage to your employees, it would be interesting for you to figure out if you're also meeting living wage requirements. My name is Lindsay Hampson. I'm the president of ThisRock Inc. We're an ESG and sustainability consulting firm. I've helped dozens of businesses figure out sustainability or pass certifications. One thing we always end up doing or talking about is the wage that they pay their employees. So, oftentimes, you know about a minimum wage. So, that's the dollar amount, usually by hour, of what a county or what a region expects you to pay your employees. But a living wage is slightly different. It's impossible to do the video if we don't know the definition. So, what is a living wage? So, the living wage is the income needed for a worker, one of your employees, for example, to meet essential needs such as having a house, eating, having good health care, and education. It differs from a minimum wage, which is often insufficient to cover all living costs. So the variability is by city. Usually it varies by city, country, even neighborhood, which is super complicating. And this is why there's often living wage tools, calculation tools out there to figure this out. I had a client ask me to break this down for them over email, and I did. And this is what we came up with. A minimum wage is legally mandated the lowest pay, but a living wage is actually based on the cost to live in an area. It's often a little bit or much higher. So, for example, the US federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour versus the living wage in a city like San Francisco for $25 an hour. So, you can see in Toronto, for example, it's $15, 22.8 for example, Montreal, Calgary, Vancouver, and you can guess it that 2021 was a couple years ago. We could look at 2024 and see the difference, and you know that that's going to be rising and rising year over year. We're on the living wage calculator tool that I often go to with clients. So, for example, if we have a Chicago client, I want to see all the employees that work in their Chicago facility. What should we be paying them if we want to do living wage? So they did this calculation for Chicago, Naperville, Elgin, Illinois. And you can see that minimum wage is $14 in this area this year right now, but living wage is $24.16. And they do that based on no children. So this would be the kind of the bottom line. But if your employee has a child or two children or three and so on, that living wage increases. If two adults are working or just one adult is working, the calculation is slightly different. If it's your first kick at the can, your company can just go by living wage, zero children, just to see if you're meeting those minimum threshold requirements. It even goes through for that area of Illinois, it goes through what typical food costs, medical, housing, and so on for an individual. And then it even goes through typical annual salaries. So you can start to see what you're paying your employee versus what it looks like in their community. So that's typically what I do. Feel free to hop here anytime. It's very helpful to just get that number for your area for minimum wage, living wage, and then open up Excel and create a spreadsheet and go through all your employees by location and go see if maybe 50% of your employees are making a living wage, or maybe 100% are already. And so that's something to get excited about, that you're already there. Or you can set a target. In the next 2 years, we want 100% of our employees to receive a living wage. So, how do those folks figure out what a living wage is for a region? Well, it's pretty simple, to be honest. One is housing. So, is rent really high? Are utilities really high? What about food? What is the adequate dollar amount for a balanced diet on average for that region? So, if you're downtown versus in more rural areas. Healthcare. So, is it out of pocket? What about insurance? Transportation. So if the city has a lot of public commuting, or if it's tough to get to, they have to have their own car. This is the kind of thing they're considering. Then childcare, education for families with children, and then also savings and discrepancy spending. So if they need a slosh fund or leisure, these are the key components that make up what a living wage should be in a certain area. Why is this good for employees? Well, it's pretty obvious why it's good for employees. It means better health, better living, well being, financial security. I mean, you can really lift their life up if they make a little bit more, considering where they live. Employers, it's good. It usually increases productivity, increases employee loyalty, and can reduce turnover. It's also very good for reputation. And if you're doing sustainability certifications, for example, like EcoVadis, they're starting to ask, does your company consider living wage when you're paying your employees? And finally, for communities, well, you're putting a little bit more money into the community, which can be helpful for economic growth, social equity, and reduce poverty. If you're not familiar with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, or people call them the UN SDGs, well, living wage aligns to a bunch of them. It's obvious that no poverty, gender equity, decent work, reduced inequities, I could go on and on. But what's important is, why would this matter for a business? Well, if your business is thinking about looking at living wage for your employees, then you can also align yourself to a few of these same UN SDGs and say, not only does our company do XYZ thing, but we're also caring about people and the planet. And for example, a specific scenario is that for all of our employees, we've decided to 100% pay them all above a living wage, dependent on their region. And this is helping a few of the UN SDGs like no poverty, gender equality, and so on. I'm in sustainability and I work with clients on their strategies, and I'm seeing living wage come up more and more often. And these organizations on the screen are really the ones that are advancing living wage momentum. And they're pushing to make sure that workers worldwide are receiving fair compensation. So the Living Wage Coalition, the United Nations Global Compact, the GRI, and even EcoVadis, which we're often seeing in the supply chain of big companies, they're asking their suppliers if they're considering a living wage. Well, you're in good company if you're considering doing a living wage or you're already doing it. Big companies are doing it too. A few to name: L'Oreal, Unilever, Schneider Electric, Aldi Nord and Aldi Sud, Accenture, and Morgan Stanley. And you can see the industries. So food and bev, real estate, restaurants. My experience is manufacturing. We're definitely seeing this in pharmaceuticals, seeing this in automotive for sure. And a bunch of different service-based businesses too are being asked. If your company wants to not only have a spreadsheet and track minimum wage, living wage across all locations, all employees, but maybe you also want to go one step further and get certified, you can. So in Canada, there's Living Wage Canada. It takes a little bit of back and forth, and you have to show some records and proof, and you have an interview, but you can get a living wage certification in Canada. Same with Fair Trade Canada. In the US, there's a living wage for US. There's Fair Trade USA, or B Corp certification also touches on living wage. In the United Kingdom, there's Living Wage Foundation, Fair Trade Foundation, and the ETI as well. So if you want to make it official, you can. 3 challenges for living wage. The first is just the cost for small businesses. Obviously, small businesses, fresh businesses are balancing fair wages with the profitability of their business. The second is global supply chains, because there's a huge variability among local living costs, which complicates standardization. And finally, just inflation adjustments. Regular wage reviews are required, which can be a little bit cumbersome. So this is definitely a challenge. So living wage, no longer a mystery to you. I hope this video was helpful. Please use the resources that we talked about in the video, especially the living wage calculator tool I find really helpful from MIT. If you ever have any questions specific to your business, feel free to reach out to us at ThisRock, and we'd be happy to give you some direction. Have a great week, and thank you so much again for watching. See you later.